I'm delighted to say I'm joined by Kilmacud Crokes footballer Dara Mullin ahead of the hashtag toughest showdown of the year, which sees Kilmacud Crokes face off against Kilcoo of Down in the AIB GA Football All-Ireland Senior Club final this Saturday at Croke Park. The game will be broadcast live on TG Car, while tickets are also available at ga.ie/tickets. This year's AIB Club Championships celebrates hashtag the toughest players in Gaelic Games, those who, despite adversity, don't quit, who persevere no matter how tough it gets, because tough don't quit. Tough can't quit, even. Dara, I suppose you fall into that bracket anyway. Can you tell us about this year for Kilmacud Crokes? I was at a few of your games in the club championship, going all the way back to the Dublin County title run. What's this season been like for you?
Yeah, well, as you probably know yourself, Dublin championships are hard won. They're very competitive. So I think right from the outset, really, in our group, we had three very difficult games against Castleknock, Ballantyre, and then St. Vincent's. So we were lucky enough to get through all three of those. And then we had a game against Nafina, and that could have gone either way, really. That was one of our tougher games throughout the whole year. There wasn't much in that. And then, yeah, Ballyboden again, another tough game, never much between us, and no love lost between us either. So it was always going to be a tough game. And then, yeah, thankfully, then last 10 minutes, we kind of just got our stuff together against Jude's and managed to get over the line. So yeah, it's been a really tough year. I think this is going to be our 11th game since the start of the Dublin Championship. So on the go a while, but really enjoying the journey anyway.
So that day against St. Jude's in the county final, I don't think he scored for about 23 minutes or maybe even slightly more. That day, did you think the wheels are coming off here? Or were you panicking at any stage?
Yeah, I suppose I had a chance at the start of the game that maybe could have flipped the game on a different sort of game script. But yeah, no, Jude's are a tough team to break down, and we were really finding it difficult in that first half. And I suppose we just kind of stuck with it. I suppose it wasn't really any other option other than to try and keep trying. And eventually we kind of broke them down and got a goal at a key stage, and that kind of saw us out over the line. But those were probably games in the past, in the last couple of years, that maybe we weren't seeing out or weren't kind of getting to a stage where we could win the game. So kind of getting through a game like Nafina in the quarterfinal gave us great belief. Then going into that last 20 minutes or 15 minutes against Jude, that we could see it out.
Yeah, I had to say, going into that semi-final against Ballyboden, I was fancying you strongly for that, and you delivered that day. But jumping on to the Leinster Championship then, you beat Wolftone's first day out. Paul Mannion was brilliant that day. Then you came from behind to see it out against Portarlington. You were a nice bit behind in that game, or certainly under the cosh to some degree, and you were missing an awful lot of chances. What is it about your team that you don't panic and you obviously just keep going? Is it like 2018 against Mullinlock is often mentioned? I'd say you've done some amount of talking since in terms of not panicking and realising it's a 60-minute game.
Yeah, I suppose it's not just Mullinlock really. It's any game, any challenge game, league game, championship game that we win or lose. We're just trying to take learnings from it, stuff to work on, stuff we're happy with, stuff that we can maybe do a little bit more of. So it's not just one point, it's not just one game that we kind of flipped the switch and realized how to see out games. It's kind of just an evolution over time. Lads getting more comfortable with what we should be doing at different parts of the game, and yeah, that's kind of really kind of what saw us through against Portarlington. They're a very strong team, and they're very impressive in leagues the last 2 years. Really good young team that play a really nice brand of football, lots of kick passing, lots of long kick passing, very attack minded. So they were a tough team to break down, and we probably had to rejig a couple of things at halftime there to try and get us over the line.
And so when you got to the Leinster final and you realised Paul Mannion was going to be out, and then you found out Dara Kerwin was going to be out, it was probably a very unusual situation where both teams were missing their star men.
Yeah, absolutely. I suppose from Nace's perspective, Dara Kerwin was shooting the lights out. We only kind of found out just as the teams were going up on the board, really, that he wasn't going to be playing. So he was a huge loss for them. But yeah, and Paul for us equally as much. I suppose we kind of have always had the mentality and kind of placed emphasis on having as strong a squad as possible. Like when you're embarking on these kind of long runs in club championships, you're going to need 30, 31, 32 lads to get you there. So there's been very competitive internal games and challenge games so that lads can step up when the need arises.
Yeah, so then the semi-final against Pádraig Pearses, you had that experience now playing 2 Croke Park games in a row against Portarlington and then Naas, but then you went out to play that game against Pádraig Pearses, and that was in Cavan. What was that experience like? You obviously saw it out by 6 points for a finish.
Yeah, it was great. Just even playing in Cavan, I think there was a couple of us that won the All Ireland Fela there back in, what was it? Probably 2008 or 2009, or maybe even a bit longer than that. But yeah, so it was great to get back there, and kind of like those kind of away days are good fun. Like it's getting to a stadium like that with kind of a cauldron type atmosphere. But Pierces themselves, very difficult team to break down again, very strong, very physical, and a very dangerous inside forward line as well when given the chance. So we were under no illusions of the threat that they pose, and yeah, as you said, thankfully we kind of came out the right side of it.
And how quick, like I presume all of the other forwards have this, realized and embraced the idea that Paul isn't there, so we need to step up.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think when Paul's playing, you kind of, once he gets the ball, you're like, all right, he's just going to score now, so it's fine. You don't really need to do too much more. But yeah, I suppose now, like, we're all responsible for getting the scores on the board and trying to take on a little bit more responsibility, and just giving that extra little couple of percent to make up for his absence.
Yeah, and were you a young lad watching on from the stands back when Kilmacud Crokes last won it?
Yeah, I think I was under 14 at the time, so I was probably in my oversized Fela gear that still doesn't fit me. So sitting up in the stand with my family and watching the game. So yeah, I've got great memories of looking on at kind of the forwards that I'd have kind of idolized, like Mark Vaughan, Paul Mannion, or Pep Guardiola, and Mark Davern, these sort of guys. And yeah, just like I have great memories of those days, going down to Nav and watching them play and different things like that. It's kind of surreal to be kind of on a similar journey to them.
I've seen Mark Vaughan in your warm-ups. What's his involvement these days? Is he still on the panel? Yeah.
Yeah, he's still on the panel. Yeah, he's probably one of our most enthusiastic panel members, to be honest. He's always out before training, kicking ridiculous shots from ridiculous angles with the top of his toe or something outrageous like that. So yeah, he's great. He's got great experience. He kind of helps an awful lot of us in terms of kind of forwards in particular, in terms of different runs and kind of shooting and different things like that. So yeah, he's a great help to have around.
Yeah, so I suppose the prototype Gaelic footballer's 6 foot plus, 15 stone, the whole lot, just muscle bound freak. For yourself, you're obviously not that sort of size profile, so you'd have had to do things maybe a different way. Is it something you've had to think about, or is it just over the years out there you just kind of hone your own style?
Yeah, I suppose for myself, I've always kind of been this sort of stature in comparison to most other lads, and maybe a little light physically. But yeah, as you say yourself, there's kind of a place for everyone on the team, and kind of I try and bring maybe something a little bit different to the more physical, bigger lads. So yeah, no, it's something that you just kind of get used to over time, and trying to maybe avoid the bigger collisions and let that for someone else maybe.
Yeah. So how much excitement is there in the area ahead of this club final?
Huge excitement, massive around the place. There's flags down the Stillorgan Road, and it's great. It's really good. There's been great kind of a great push from the local primary schools to kind of get these jersey days and get as many people out to the matches as much as possible. And we've really noticed it this year more so than ever. The support that we've gotten from the community has been absolutely top class.
Yeah, and how much would you have seen of Kilcoo? Would you be the sort that just watches football generally as part of, I know, as part of the hobby or whatever your interests, or would you just, like a lot of people don't even bother watching games that they're not involved in?
Yeah, yeah, I would have been watching them for the last couple of years. I've got relatives from Kerfin, so I'd have been watching them that day when they were narrowly defeated by Kerfin in the All Ireland final. So yeah, they've been a very impressive team for the last couple of years. Probably the most impressive club team in the last couple of years. They've been really strong in the Down Championship, and again in Ulster. And again, the last day against Finbars, when maybe things didn't go the way that they had planned, but they were still able to dig out a result. So yeah, we have a huge challenge ahead of us, but yeah, one we're quite excited about.
Yeah, and like sometimes there's Club All Ireland finals and it ends up being a bit of a cakewalk for one team. There's a real sense that this could, and actually this is the same in the hurling as well, that this is set up to be a classic sort of final. Do you get that sense?
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah, we'll try and make it as entertaining as possible, I suppose, while still trying to maybe swing the result our way. But yeah, no, listen, it seems to be two very strong teams coming into the final. Yeah, so hopefully it'll live up to the billing.
Yeah, and I'll just run through a quick Q&A with you if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Who's the most skillful player you've ever played with or trained with?
I'd probably say Mark Vaughan. To be honest,
Yeah.
some of the skills and some of the shots he can pull out of his locker and still does. You wouldn't believe it, to be honest.
What's your memory of your first time ever at Croke Park? I know probably as a kid now watching on.
Yeah, geez, I think it was back in 98 or 99. My mum was from Galway, so we probably were in one of those Galway Kildare, maybe Galway Dairy games, I think, back then. I was probably a little terror running around the place and not really too interested in watching the game. But probably first memory that I can actually remember was probably a Dublin match, and just going in, and I suppose that kind of stereotypical first side of the pitch and kind of being taken a little bit aback by that and kind of setting a little fire inside of me to try and play there at some stage.
Who's your favorite player of all time?
Oh, favorite player of all time. Well, tricky one. One that I wouldn't really think of too much. I suppose someone that I played with for the last couple of years and someone I would have looked up to an awful lot would be Pat Burke. Both on and off the pitch. I have the height of respect for him. And yeah, he would be someone I looked up to.
Who's been your toughest opponent and why?
Toughest opponent and why?
That would be a cop out to say someone within training. You know what we're after.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I won't give my brother the shout out there now. Yeah. I'd probably be someone like Owen Merchant. I think he, like kind of what you touched on earlier on, his stature, my stature would kind of match up. So both of our strengths kind of nullify each other in terms of pace. He's probably a good bit quicker than me though. So yeah, he's a tough man to have marking you.
Yeah, would you be marking your brother in training all the time? Like I often see Keane and Con O'Callaghan going at it. So there's always, I'm sure there's that sibling rivalry you do not want to lose to your brother.
Yeah, we would have marked each other quite a bit. We generally try and avoid each other as much as we can, just to kind of avoid it spilling off the pitch maybe a little bit more. But yeah, no, he kind of, we're both well used to each other at this stage. So there's probably not much learning in both of us picking up each other. So
yeah. What's your proudest day playing GA?
Proudest day playing GA. Wow. Yeah, I suppose like it's probably not one day, but maybe like the 2018 winning Dublin that time, or else this year winning Dublin and winning Leinster. It's kind of a combination of those sort of things when you achieve kind of a lifetime ambition, I suppose, with your club and kind of achieve it with your close mates. It's a special feeling. What's
the biggest disappointment of your career?
What would it be? Probably I've been unlucky enough with injuries throughout my time. So probably my second ACL tear was probably the biggest disappointment and one that I found the hardest to come back from.
Yeah, right. What years were your ACL tears?
So the first one I did, it was my final year under 21, which would have been in 2016, I think it was. And then the following year, then I got an operation again on the same knee. So missed 2016, missed 2017, and then managed to get back for 2018 actually.
Do you feel that that you fully recovered and that you lost anything from those ACLs?
I hope I fully recovered at this stage, but yeah, like it's obviously not an ideal operation to undergo. You're probably a little bit more conscious in the early stages, but to be honest now, any trainings, any matches that I go into, it doesn't even cross my mind to kind of do a little bit of stretch and do a little bit, maybe a few different exercises that other people may not do, but to kind of tick the box in my head that, okay, I've done this, I know that I'm ready to play the match or ready to turn or do different things like that. So yeah, no, it's not really something that I think about too often anymore.
Was it on the same knee both times?
Yeah, same knee both times.
Oh, okay. So who would be the joker on the panel?
Probably Mark Vaughan or Rory O'Carroll again. The two of them like to have a few jokes. Vaughan would probably be more a constant joker, but Rory would get you with the good one that he'd been saving up for a while. So either of those lads.
Who's the best trainer?
Best trainer. There's a couple of very good trainers. I suppose the one that springs to mind would be Cian O'Connor. And you've kind of seen the fruition of that when he's kind of coming on the pitch and the kind of professionalism and the skills that he demonstrates when he comes on the pitch. Like the last day, he kicks a great score off his right foot and then follows it up a couple of minutes later with a great score off his left. So he's really got a top class attitude, trains very hard the whole time, and just he really is a top pro.
Yeah. So who would be the best dressed and obviously then the worst dressed as well?
The best dress, probably. I'll probably give it to Andy McGowan or Craig Diaz. Probably those two lads are usually well dressed. And the worst dress is without a doubt Shane Horn.
Why so? Is it the Offaly blood in him?
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I think he's come out with some very dodgy outfits in his time. A couple of turtlenecks thrown in there and a few dodgy colour schemes. So yeah, it's definitely him.
Yeah, the turtleneck. Yeah, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
Is there what player loves the media attention?
I don't know. Yeah, I suppose Mannion got a couple of Man of the Match awards there throughout the year. That maybe it was by default more than anything. So he probably gets a good bit of abuse for it. But to be honest, there's no one really that kind of goes out of their way to kind of take the limelight or whatever like that. So.
Yeah, I had to give Man of the Match award to Rory O'Carroll after one of the games in the Dublin Championship, and he was just like, "How on earth did you pick me?" It was rubbish. What player from another sport do you admire?
I suppose kind of recently, just seeing his retirement there would be Tom Brady. There's a couple of us on the team that follow American football quite closely, and just kind of the longevity of his career and the hunger and desire that he has at his age, to keep pushing forward, to keep pushing new boundaries, to keep challenging his teammates is admirable. And yeah, he's someone that I admire quite a lot.
Does that mean you were a Patriots fan who turned into a Bucks fan for 2 years?
No, I'm actually an Eagles fan, to be honest.
Punishment
the company that I work for from Philadelphia, so I just became an Eagles fan by default. So I was actually the first year that I became a fan. They won the Super Bowl, so I didn't have to endure too much torture with them.
Yeah, I know. I'm a big fan as well. Nick Foles was brilliant that year.
Yeah, he was, yeah.
Final question then. What manager from another sport do you admire?
Manager from another sport. Probably Pep Guardiola with City and the other teams that he's managed in the past. He seems to have a very unbiased opinion about his players. He picks what seems to be purely on merit and kind of hard work. The way his teams approach games, they approach them very professionally, kind of all really work hard for each other. And whatever kind of input that he has into that, you can kind of see it in the past that they always seem to kind of perform well for each other. So yeah, I'd admire him.
Okay, well, that's great stuff. Best of luck in the Croke Park on Saturday and your match against Kilcoo. So cheers for that.
Thanks, Shane. Cheers.
So that was Dara Mullin of Kilmacud Crokes. They're in that All-Ireland final this Saturday. Just a reminder, this Thursday and every Thursday, the show that we have here in Our Game is live on Patreon only. So it's patreon.com/Our Game. Just a $5 a month. Works out at more or less 50 cents a podcast. So I'm sure you'll agree that's not too much. It's just the hassle of signing up, which takes I'd say about 90 seconds. So go ahead and do that, and you'll get those shows every Thursday live.